You are watching the Fayetteville Government Channel. Up next, full coverage of the latest meeting of the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods. The Council of Neighborhoods is composed of citizen volunteers and meets on the last Thursday of each month. The Council of Neighborhoods provides a forum for neighborhood associations to share information, concerns, and ideas, and provides a mechanism to communicate with elected officials and governmental agencies. And now, the Fayetteville Council of Neighborhoods.
Tonight, I suppose this is a call to order. Everybody behave in an orderly manner from here on in. And I'm liking the looks of this food. Tonight's first order of old business is that last meeting we created a nominating committee for officers for the next year. And members of that committee are Aubrey Shepard and Stan Lancaster. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to the committee and hear what their recommendation, if any, is.
Well, the recommendation is that first order is that you make it clear that anyone here tonight may suggest that he or a friend, he, she, or a friend that's involved in Council of Neighborhoods business be nominated for any of these positions.
Well, in that case, let me just mention that anyone who's here who has ideas about nominations for either chair, vice chair, or secretary could speak up now and mention to the committee that they have other recommendations, or if we have any of those at this time, it'd be good to hear them. All I hear is people eating.
Well, that's because we're waiting for them to do their thing.
None heard, then we feel like we've duly asked folks for input on this. So go ahead, Aubrey.
Okay, barring nominations from the floor, the committee suggests that you, Mr. Chairman, continue as chairman, and you, Don, as vice chairman, continue as vice chairman, and Stan as secretary, treasurer, if we ever have any money, continue in that position. So that's the recommendation. So I suggest you give one last chance for somebody else to make a nomination, and then we'll.
Well, I'm a little worried right now because I've overlooked introducing someone who's here, who's our new staff designee for FCON, our new community outreach coordinator, Dee Dee Peters, and she said that she could introduce herself better than I could, probably.
And the scalloped potatoes are circulating. They're delicious.
You willing to do that at this time?
Yes. My name's Dee Dee Peters, and I'm the community outreach coordinator. And I've actually already had dealt with some people in neighborhoods needing some things. So that's been interesting because I've been learning with them, and I hope to revitalize neighborhood associations a little bit more and encourage the involvement in the Council of Neighborhoods, because I think a lot of good can happen here. Neighbors, I believe, is the first place a lot of people reach out. So.
Well, thanks. That's good to hear, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, I second that.
Yes.
She's provided us with a nice agenda, and I see nothing but bright future for our outfit.
And Stan's scalloped potatoes are very good, by the way.
The credit for that goes to my wife.
Thank you, Ms. So we have a recommendation, and we've asked for other input, and I haven't heard any. So I'm wondering if your recommendation is intended to be that we vote on them individually, or
Or somebody could make a motion to accept all by.
Yeah, I would make a motion, we accept those as they stand, especially considering we have just a quorum.
And we have a second.
I'll second it.
Second, moved and seconded that we accept these recommendations by acclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I feel quite comfortable with it. I made quite a few phone calls. I couldn't get all the people on the list. Obviously, it's very difficult this afternoon, and let them know, many people, a couple of whom said they'd already read your email when I made those calls. That was good. But they're not here, so I'll let them enjoy what they get and hope that they will come and participate sometime during the year, as early as next month. Let me bring up this question because it was asked. You're going to set the agenda later, but let's make it clear right now whether we are indeed having a December meeting. Is that your intention, Mr. Chairman? And anyone else?
Well, if you're asking me what my inner nature suggests, I'm kind of a mule, and I usually intend to step on the solid rock each month. And so that would be my instinct, but I don't know what past practice has been.
Well,
This is generally our November, December meeting, where we have the potlucks.
The difficulty of getting people that close to holidays,
Last Thursday
it's
of
problematic.
December is usually in between one big party and the other one. Well,
And if we're not able to get a quorum, we're not going to be able to accomplish much. And I would propose that we combine the meetings and have our next meeting in January.
well, you know, I love meetings, and I love this one as much as anything the city does, but it's probably correct. It'll be difficult. Maybe all of us can be here, but if we knew what the issues might be by that time, December, we might say we better have it. But since we can't tell, the city budget will be decided by then, and probably
New alder people, council people will come in January.
so.
so that puts a next meeting late in January, last Thursday in January.
And a lot of committee meetings I've been to in the past month, a lot of them have canceled their December meetings.
And this will save the city money on the electric bill and things like that.
Well, the only, the thing I'm thinking of that is a presentation that I was going to suggest we have sometime soon. Is one by a person who's a member of another committee I'm on called the Environmental Action Committee. Ms. Terry Lane wants to teach us about wildlife habitats that can be created and maintained in your own little homestead. So that's something to look forward to at our next meeting, possibly.
Has she agreed to do it in December, or?
Well, we didn't talk specific dates. We think that the neighborhood forum reality is really it fits in well with the idea of this wildlife habitat maintenance.
Yes, I wish that we could get Terry to every POA and every neighborhood meeting that goes on in the city separately, actually, but certainly here, having it broadcasted on YouTube and on AT&T Universe and on Cox 218 and so 216 is one way to get the word out. But we've been working on this a long time now. It's been nearly 3 years, I guess. And there's still a lot of education to do on the habitat community idea. So whatever the group proposes, I'll agree with.
So show of hands on having our next meeting late January. All in favor of that?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So then we won't meet next month, but we will meet in the last Thursday of January.
But you should give your phone number so people who object to that can call.
I'll give that at the end of the program.
Yeah. I'd like to say that in reference to the previous presentation on restoring wildlife habitats, that was something that I appreciated a lot more after the fact, the more I thought about it. And in light of some other articles I've read in relation to that, I want to encourage everybody in Fayetteville to plant milkweed this next spring to facilitate monarch butterflies, which are like bees. Their populations are being decimated. So if you like butterflies, plant milkweed.
And bee balm.
And bee balm, yeah.
And looking around, I see that we all have a little folder in front of us that says KFB. Just picked up on it. Keep Fayetteville beautiful. I'm wondering who knows what this is all about.
I can talk about it a little bit.
Okay,
All right,
go.
very good. I can eat some more food.
Fayetteville will be, is joining a very prestigious group, the Keep America Beautiful Foundation and the Keep Arkansas Beautiful. They will be an affiliate, and there's going to be a ceremony next Thursday. It's
December 6th.
Yes, a lot of work went into it. It's a great honor, and it's another one of our feathers in our cap, which is a very feathered cap here in Fayetteville. There'll be lots of the different communities, botanical garden folks, master gardeners, people that work in recycling.
Is the city presenting this?
Yes, the city is presenting this.
Keep talking, my mouth's full of brisket.
It's a great honor.
Location time.
Location is City Hall, which is 113 West Mountain Street. It'll be in room 219, which is the
City
council
council
chamber. The mayor will be there and several of our staff. 9 o'clock in the morning. There will be
9
snacks.
a.m. Yeah,
Yes, there will be snacks. There will be refreshments.
no alcohol.
Okay,
No
we'll
alcohol.
be there. For the snacks.
Yes.
That was due to an earlier comment.
All right, very good. Established in 1953, the nation's largest volunteer-based community improvement organization with a network of nearly, did you already say all this?
No, I did not.
1,000 affiliate and participating organizations.
Well, we've been a volunteer community for Lord knows how many years now. So.
This will be our 4th year. We had a 18-year hiatus when we weren't, so we were back in the 1980s, and then the last 4 years we pretty much number one when you look at all the volunteers here in the state.
Well, very good. Anybody got any neighborhood news?
Well, just because I know everybody's concerned about this as I am, the sidewalk that ends in my neighborhood, it's been...
Morningside Drive?
Yes, and this January will be 2 years since they announced that they were going to do that. Now, I don't know how long it takes to get stuff done, but, you know, I guess 2 years is reasonable in some circumstances, but they have come out, and it was kind of like a tease. They came out and had all the guys come out and paint the streets and my grass and the ditch. And I mean, there's a lot of activity, and you got the impression, oh, it's imminent, it's just about to happen, and it's gone into remission again. But, you know, at least we're getting closer.
Well, the colors, that's one call.
What's the second time around for that?
Everyone comes out and says, here's where our stuff is, and so don't break it.
Yeah. Don't tread on me.
Leslie, you got some information on that?
Yeah, thank you. Lindsley Smith, work in the mayor's office, communication director. The historic floods, hitting with the historic ice problems, hitting with the historic drought that we had, and then the historic problems. There were like 4 natural disaster area time periods. The city council early last year, particularly when you're coming off the floods into the heat, and then a lot of the pipes bursting, trails falling off, road work, the city council had voted to change the funds that were in budgets that would go toward that to put toward fixing the things that were essentially falling off. Mayor Jordan has been announcing to different groups. He mentioned it to the Fayetteville Forward, the FFEAC, just recently, and he's been talking to various groups. Since the sales tax or the tax did pass, dealing with transportation, Mayor Jordan knows that the sidewalks, and those are the things he's pointed. He says we have too many sidewalks, not just that one, that stop at one end and go to the other. I know on our street, I think we probably have the worst sidewalk. It looks like somebody came around and just sort of like pounded it for about 80 years. And it's really not really a sidewalk. It's a nice little hodgepodge gravel kind of on Ralston next to Dixon Street. So he's looked at dedicating the monies that we get in for that primary towards sidewalks, plus in the budget, which is the first balanced budget in a long time, but a big part of that, and I don't have the number, and I know he was here earlier, and he could tell you about that, is dedicated towards sidewalks. And so you'll hear a lot about that, I'm pretty sure, in the State of the City as well. He's already asked the staff to look at these areas, and what he has stated was he wants to start with staff focusing on the school areas and going tentacle out to help increase the walkable community. And one of the big things he stressed is that there are a lot of sidewalks that stop and then pick up somewhere else. So.
Yeah, I knew it was going to come down to money. I knew that.
Yeah, but it will be it's going to be I think the most in a year, building on trails next year, and then a massive sidewalk improvement project. And it's always good to remind people, I think, and to do this. If you go on accessfayetteville.org, up in the top you'll see a purple what do you call them, column or section that says quick links. They'll have citizen requests for services right toward the top. If you haven't done that, I encourage you to, because it's always good to have something submitted so it can go into the process, go to the transportation department, get on particular lists, they can start analyzing it. We have a lot of highways here, so sometimes areas, sidewalks, along the highways, it takes a lot longer because they have to work with the highway department and get the approvals. But if you go on there, whether it's a barking dog, whether it's, hey, fix my sidewalk. I did a test case on this last year, and I thought, let me see if this works. You know, going on Access Fayetteville and occasionally seeing, you know, let's make sure the process is working the way it should. And there was a segment of sidewalk down the street from me where the owner had done the sewage line to a certain point, and there are questions about where the city is and where the property owner is, but the situation was it was dangerous. There was essentially a hole. They had some stuff over it. It's one block off Dixon Street. It's a very walkable community. It was not safe. I submitted it through that process online through Citizen Request for Services, and it was fixed the week later.
Did you put your name on it, the office you work in, or did you just do it anonymously? Or something?
No, I just submitted it. You don't, yeah. And it could have had my name on there, and I don't remember. Yeah, but the city doesn't look at it as a priority in that way. Everybody's equal.
I'm
yeah.
sort of joking, but
Oh. I never have gotten your
Scan
humor
all your
on.
neighbors to click on that and fill it out.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
See if
They
you-
all have sidewalks.
See if you
Yeah,
can
yeah, all my neighbors have
Well,
sidewalks.
that's true. You're the only one.
Yeah, I'm with the sidewalk units.
Yeah.
And, but I'm sure that relates to the sidewalk along, the non-existent sidewalk, or the intermittent sidewalk out along Huntsville, between Morningside and
Yeah, so get those
Seven
stores.
Hills.
Get those stores up there on Huntsville, but sign it up.
Well, we really need to get somebody needs to figure out who's supposed to pay for it and how, get a sidewalk in along 6th Street, Huntsville, or 16,
Yeah.
whoever you want to look at it,
Yeah.
MLK. Because there are poor people trying to walk every day back and forth from Seven Hill Shelter
Mhm.
along a road with no shoulders
Yeah.
and just
no
a
sidewalk.
ditch to jump into, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's Jefferson is close. It's
Mhm.
no longer an elementary school, but it is a place where education.
Gathering
yeah.
place.
Yeah, but they have sidewalks there.
Well, I mean, that's one of those tentacles.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, let's see, any more neighborhood news? Dee Dee, anything going on in your neighborhood?
Not really. I mean, we have a great block party. I'm
Remind
in
us-
Washington Willow.
Washington Willow, okay.
I did attend the country club neighborhood meeting earlier this month, and they had a really great presentation from the Washington County Emergency Office, and that was really educational. They're somewhat isolated out there because they're on a hill.
Mhm.
They have recently graded the road out there, so it's easier to travel and
And they don't bother to come to F-Con either.
slick weather. Well,
Well, they don't.
You can poke them with a stick.
I will try.
Need to
Encourage
encourage them.
Yes, I will encourage them. They also have snacks. So,
Use a blunt stick at first, not a
Okay.
sharp stick.
and I just thought that was a program that a lot of neighborhoods would find really important.
It is a good program. I've seen it a couple of times in some of the other neighborhoods that it's been presented.
Yeah, especially, I think a lot of us have 2009 post-traumatic stress from the ice storm, and so that's what we think about is how to handle being without power for 10 days at a
Well, a
time.
few years ago, we had the Firewise presentations up here. And so, those were good. But yeah, we probably need to do that again at F-Con. Have them do the fire prevention and safety and emergency management.
And that presentation will be made this coming Monday, 7 o'clock at the Boys and Girls Club. Will be the Mayor's Town Hall meeting. They're citywide, but they're located in various wards. This will be located in the Ward 4 area. And with that one, this sort of holiday time period is when the fire department makes that presentation as well.
Would you say again, the Mayor's Town Hall coming up is what date
Yes,
and place?
December 3rd, which is this coming Monday, and it is 7 o'clock. It goes from 7 o'clock to 8:30, and there's presentations from staff giving updates over the last 3 months since the last Mayor's Town Hall meeting. You'll have the department heads, you'll have the budget director giving a presentation on budget. You'll have Chris Brown, the city engineer, will be doing infrastructure discussion. You'll have Connie Edmondson giving updates on Parks and Recreation. David Juergens will be talking about the parking deck and what the council's been looking at in terms of locations. And then, of course, the Firewise information. Jeremy Pate will probably do some development services type information. And then, of course, a lot of it toward the end is open up for whatever questions come from the audience. And then Mayor Jordan always has other staff, other department heads. He asks them all to be there. So like Chief Tabor will be there. Terry Gully from Transportation Director will be there. So they can address head on the questions that come from the audience.
December 3rd,
Yes,
time and place?
Monday night, Boys and Girls Club, Ripple Road,
Yeah, it's all approved.
at 7 p.m. It's always a great one. The Boys and Girls Club get very involved. They like the Mayor's Town Hall meeting there. It gives them an opportunity to have an event in which they volunteer and participate. And they really enjoy greeting people at the door and greeting you and walking you to the room, and then going back and getting somebody else and walking to the room. So it's very inclusive, and the kids really enjoy it.
Yeah, they're proud of their facility.
Yeah, yeah, they are. And to meet people.
Well, it should be, it's nice.
On that note, I usually don't have any snacks at the Mayor's Town Hall, but sometimes we have door prizes, so that would be something to inspire people.
Yeah, we, in order to encourage the public purchasing art from local artists, occasionally we will have a raffle to have a piece of artwork from a local artist
Nice.
raffled off.
Very nice.
As that is. So.
And a T-shirt from the Parks Department.
Oh, and Connie Evans
Things
will
like
throw things at the audience and everything, and do questions like, how many parks does Fayetteville have? Who knows who Gordon Long was or is? Who knows what, so that's good. And since I'm talking, if I can make a note, last meeting, just put it up here, right, for proper use of
Or where
the
we
camera
can see
thing.
your face
Yeah.
on camera, that'd be good.
Last time there was a question brought up about MLK Junior Boulevard and the new apartments that have gone in there, and a lot of the students from the university are there, and whether or not there'll be bus like transit there because they're walking. I did talk to Gary Smith, who is the director of transit at the University of Arkansas. And he says they've already are putting in a bus pull-off, and that is a designated area on their mapping.
I believe the gentleman's
It is a
talking
state
about-
highway. It just took a little longer.
Yeah, I believe the gentleman was also mentioning something about seeing the need for some shelter while waiting for buses.
Yeah. I did mention that to him as well. And I did not see their plan, but I do recall, I think they said that they did get permission by the highway department in order to pull a shelter on it as well.
I believe I've seen some activity along the sidewalk out there. It looks like they're prepping up a spot for that.
Well,
Aubrey, what's on your mind?
Town Ranch neighborhood suffering with some of those developments going on in all directions from my house. There's blasting still, all those nice things that you enjoy, and blocking the street. Hill Avenue access to MLK has been blocked a lot lately because they have underground phone lines and power lines and so forth going from the side of the street, which has the poles, but it's all underground in the new development. This particular part is for a come-and-go store, and so that's a little disruptive, of course, but there's just so much going on now that we went several years without much development, got spoiled having quiet in some neighborhoods, so it's quite busy. But the other thing I was going to mention, I thought of some people have asked about the signs going up in some of the park areas saying that I believe 15 or 16 of the parks are being rezoned to P1, is that what it's called? Anyway, it's for institutional zoning. And best I can tell, that is no change. It's just an administrative effort to make them all alike, I believe. This came through the planning department, planning commission this past Monday night. There were 2 meetings going on that night, and I couldn't be in both of them at once. We were on their time, missed part of it. But my thought related to that was that we actually don't have a separate zoning category for things that have been committed and even bought, donated, in various ways. Things come into city possession for park land. Some of them are clearly there as nature parks, and I was thinking, well, maybe there really should be a zone that said this is P1 institutional parkland category in for nature or something that made it clear that that land would always be kept that way. And there's always that concern, like when wonderful new fire station was built on Old Wire Road and intersection was 265 years ago. Some of us that were working in the World Peace Weapon period went over there and dug up some of the native species that were about to be paved over for the new fire station, because that had originally been donated and was being used as a natural area. But the original donor had not had anything to make sure it stayed that way. That was just the intention. Everybody knew it. It was not designated that way.
No covenant to it, yeah.
No covenant, yes. So that was my thought when all these signs went up on various park areas saying this will be changed, the zoning will be changed. Otherwise, the zoning in some of these cases is still zoned for commercial, if that's where it was. It's zoned as, well, you know, any kind of residential zoning may exist with parkland still zoned that way. So what they're doing is a good housekeeping thing to change it, but I just want to add that little bit to it. Probably 2 or 3 other things I could talk about, but I'll give it to Don, maybe.
Yeah, our neighborhood's pretty quiet right now.
Tom, what's the name of your neighborhood?
Root School Neighborhood Association. And there's way too much activity at the old abandoned Ruskin Heights development. Caught some people up there wearing orange and hunting, you know, bow hunting deer up there right in the middle of town. Not pleasant, but we got that taken care of. Other than that, things are pretty quiet up there.
Have they come from Eureka?
Eureka Pizza or
Eureka Spring?
Eureka Springs, they might have. They might have thought they were having a little in-town hunting. You know, you kind of worry about, we got some fox up there and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
you don't want them to just be shooting anything.
Right.
You don't want them to shoot anything, as a matter of fact. You know, not up there. Kind of in the middle of town.
Yeah.
Okay, Rich?
I've got
Yours.
I've got a little bit this time. Jennings Plus neighborhood. If you think about, I don't know the exact boundaries, but I'll describe a boundary, that's area that I'm focusing on here. Archibald Yale, South College, 6th Street, and Church. Got that fixed in your mind? Short walk to B&B Barbecue, for instance. Or
Thank you. By the way, it's really good.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of infill being built. There's a lot of activity of some new style of houses that are, it's possible to do this because of the what's the name of the zoning? It's called
Neighborhood
conservation, which allows you to build up very close to the property lines, etc. And the pressure that I'm feeling is lots and lots of mud being tracked out on the street, lots and lots of big trucks and big trailers parked all day long, lots and lots of vehicles of people who are working, and there's starting to be nails and screws, and it's pretty heavy pressure because they're working multiple sites. They'll work site A for half a day, and then they'll move the crew over to another site. So the chess game is getting complicated of how to navigate through the neighborhood, just coming and going. And so it's just uncomfortable, and I know it's growing pains, and it's probably temporary. But along with that, on my street, which is, I live at the corner of 4th and South College. So 4th Street, west of College, goes straight west and actually almost intersects Archibald Hill on one of the curves. And we've got a lot of girls on my street, and they have chalk and tricycles and bicycles, and they spend a lot of time on the sidewalks and in the street. They play there. They pretty much own it. That's their space. And I have one of these, have you seen the fluorescent green moving child signs? Have you seen those? They're kind of...
Yeah, slow for children, yeah.
Yeah, it's like someone, it's kind of a caricature of someone coming out in the street, and it's fluorescent green. A lot of times they'll have a flag on them. Well, they have one of those, and they drag it out in the street, and they do their stuff. And they're learning how to ride bicycles too. And so I'm liking that. I think it's good that they have this kind of space, and it's fairly safe, but it doesn't seem super safe. And I'm wondering, the sign thing gave me this idea, like, could we have something that actually belongs to the city and no one would want to steal, but whenever it's playtime on a good afternoon, could we drag it out there in the middle of the street, at both ends of the street, and just kind of reminder to people coming by, you know, hey, this is a little neighborhood.
Or like have an arm that lowers down on half of the road on each ends to make them slowly weave through there?
Well, I don't know. It's just kind of a beginning idea. And so, but...
It's not in the budget, I know.
Well, we have, like, let's think about South Street, for instance. Can you imagine South Street? It's the first street as you start down the hill on South College. And it's a lot wider than other streets. Anybody
Yeah.
recognized by anyone? So it turns into a kind of a speedy street. But the disadvantage to that is that it's so wide that you can park on both sides of it, and there's still plenty of room to speed. If you park on both sides of 4th Street, it just slows everybody down.
Yeah, you may be able to weave through there and you might not.
Yeah, you have to watch your truck mirrors when you're going through.
Let me interject. On South Street, I know the neighborhood well. It's where I grew up.
Oh, really?
My parents had the grocery store. That's where the water purification building is now. Back when B&B was owned by B&B. And South Street now has become a cut-through street for people coming down MLK. They get to the four-way stop. I saw it this morning. It amazes me how much trouble people are willing to go to just to be stupid. You have a whole lot of cars that are approaching a stop, a four-way stop, okay? Well, the two vehicles in front of me this morning turned right on the road as if they were going to go up Mill Street and up to the highway, and they went up to the first corner and then turned back to go down to the same four-way stop because it'd be 4 cars closer than they would have been the other way. Okay, so that's part of it. Now, I've also know that to bypass that, they go up past the motorcycle shop and they turn left and cut over across College to South Street and zoom on down to the Archibald Hill, to the curves. And that's not an easy corner to get out of either. So I don't think I think it's more masturbatory than it is a utility.
Yeah.
You know, but you know how it is. People, if they want to, if they can't do anything, they want to at least look busy. So
Yeah.
But that's the problem.
A lot of people
South Street
prefer
is
to be driving than waiting, even if they're driving.
And until they get those problems fixed on 6th Street, it's not going to change.
Well, so much for my grumbles. They probably don't make much sense, but
Well, they do.
No, they do.
Well, the neighborhood conservation zoning has advantages, you know, for infill. You're trying to promote infill. But with those several things wrong, even if you build low very energy efficient houses, LEED quality even. What none of them has done in that area, that none that's been built so far, is leave any of the natural soil, water to soak in, to replenish the groundwater. Even though in some cases, for instance, at MLK and East Avenue, you see it's 50 feet to the street. If the street weren't already there, it wouldn't be built there now by the new standards because it would be in the riparian zone that's protected. But those lots with up to 10 houses on an acre generally don't provide any green space for gardening.
No,
You know, we're promoting, trying to get public space to have public gardens, and we're letting people build without leaving any garden site.
Well, and doing all the infill without providing any pocket parks or anything like that either.
well, obviously the priority is not on green space or gardening space, it's on parking. So, you know,
Yeah, they have-
and they
have
build
parking.
buildings to as big as they can on the lots with no more allowance than legally required for the vehicles, which is generally not adequate in my opinion anyway.
Right, and neighborhood conservation allows them to park on the street as well, so.
Right.
And there's no place for children to play except in the street. And if we want to accept Detroit here or some of the other places where kids do play in the street because they're in buildings built right up to the street with no yard, no expectation of it. And people living there who never have an expectation of living any differently in many cases.
Well,
They're simply
in your case, you
stuck
know,
there.
as far as the kids playing, like I say, I grew up in that area and we always played in the street.
But their traffic was very light.
Yeah, but you know, it was
Like, do they have cars?
And the horse and buggy came across every now and then.
yeah.
Well,
They weren't texting when they were driving.
No, they weren't
Texting.
it's optimized when there's not many cars parked on the street.
Right.
When the street's clear, of course, it's more dangerous, but then you can see who's out there darting around.
Of course, when I was growing up, there was one car per household.
At most.
Yeah.
I was just going through some of these issues, and I think there may be something going on with planning and community strategic planning.
What you said.
About the park zoning, and I can find out if
Oh,
there
right.
is, if there are different categories. I think
And it
it's-
should be because you've got active parks, and then, see like up on ours, between Shadow Ridge and Ridgeway, there's what's called the natural park
Mhm.
up there. And, you know, people aren't allowed up there, you
Yeah.
know, it's just a park that, you know, is not inviting to people because this for
Yes.
one thing. But,
But I can also see this being an advantage to neighborhoods and real estate, that, you know, you might be able to advertise that you have X number of nature parks and
Mhm.
so forth. And it'd be good information for
that are
residents to have.
strictly there for trees,
Mhm,
you know, just for something green.
mhm. And then the Root School District with the activity at Ruskin Heights, I can find out. I thought there was something on the books to happen there, but maybe that's
Well, that's. been-
a long-term
It's
event.
only been 2 or 3 times they've gone up and
Right.
rezoned and.
Have they removed the house up there?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then the construction, has anyone approached the developer about cleaning, you know, making sure, you know how they have that really awesome tool that you roll over a construction site and it picks up all the magnetic, it's like a magnetic roller.
Mhm.
Do they do that or anything?
I
Or?
haven't seen one of those in action here. Do you? Anybody?
It's a hand, it's
Oh, a hand
like
pump.
a push mower that people,
Yeah, I've got one myself, but, you know, I'm not really ready to go over to your neighborhood and take care of that for you.
We do get a street sweeper fairly frequently,
Mhm.
and he does a lot better job when people are gone with their cars.
Okay.
It's a lot simpler for him.
well, I'm happy to call the developer. I think it's a developer that's been in the neighborhood several times before and will probably continue to work there. And he probably wants to continue a good relationship with the neighbors, so.
Well, I'm waiting for him to get a big truck, so he'll start noticing how hard it is to get through some of these places.
Mhm.
He probably already does know, and doesn't really care because he doesn't live there.
Yeah, you might think that, well, there would be an ordinance that if you can't park your equipment on the property, I mean, in this,
While you're doing the
we're talking about while you're doing the development, then you're developing it wrong somehow. You know, if you have to park on both sides of the street and block it for full blocks at a time, building these one house things, then there's something that's inappropriate about the way it's being done. And I was trying to think, I remember it's been now 2.5, 3 years, but I have photos of the same group building those houses down there up at south and east, up at the opposite end of that street. And their workers were leaving sawhorses in the street with lumber on it overnight, taking up like a row of cars parked on the side. And that street's not, east is not as wide as South Street. East Avenue's not as wide as South Street. But they thought nothing of it to have piles of dirt and gravel, whatever they're using in the street. It would fill this space right here and take up a lane. And that it was like nobody questioned it, you know. And of course,
Because it'll be done one of these days.
yeah, we'll be done with this. Why you just go that way, you know?
Yeah.
Don't use the street you live on. So I've always thought, especially of it being in Fayetteville over that boom period, you know, a decade ago and so forth, that there should be more consideration of when council approves it, planning commission approves it, they should be looking at and predicting somehow with the help of the staff and so forth and honesty of the actual builders, developers, that here are the things that will inconvenience the heck out of you if you live there. You might want to, you know, make plans to live this and consider that you don't cause extra trouble. And I think in many cases, they don't have to do it exactly the way they do it. That's a matter of education and just getting their understanding.
You know, basically they think they're doing the job, so they should be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah, and you are in this, you do work similar to what these guys are doing, and you.
Maybe you don't leave equipment out in the street.
No, and you pick up the nails if
Yeah.
you spill it, yeah.
You contain everything.
So,
I know there's a letter that goes out when people have a project, letter that goes out urging the developer to contact the neighborhood association. And maybe that letter can be beefed up a little bit, you know, if you're working in a residential neighborhood, these are some of the requests. You know, park on,
It could,
adequate
but
parking.
most of them, it's just about the buck. They don't really care about the neighborhood because they're just building a house and they'll be gone.
Well, a typical sequence, and we may have spent way too much time on this, I don't know. Typical sequence, you're gonna have to remove unsuitable soils. Sorry, Albert.
unsuitable soils.
Unsuitable. Well, they're expansive. They soak up water, in other words. So we can't use them for underneath these buildings we're gonna build. So the way we do that is we get the biggest truck we can find, we bring it over.
Strip the lot.
And we strip the lot. He usually has to sit out on the street. We'll have a bulldozer push all of this unsuitable soil up in a pile, and then we'll get a big track hoe and park him on top of the pile, and he can dip it and put it in the truck. So after the truck makes the first trip, squeezing the asphalt to the street, that's just been liberated on its edge from a deep cut, okay? The whole structure's strained to the max. When he comes back, he's got a load of red dirt, a big load of red dirt.
Which will be heavier in proportion to the amount, right?
And what does he do with it? He's full of it, so he deposits it in the hole and gets another load of unsuitable soil, which he's selling for topsoil somewhere. So there's that day or two activity. And then the vibrating packer comes in and they start spreading the red dirt around. As soon as that's done, the next day, the guy with the big diesel dually shows up with a big trailer on behind that's got the little track hoe.
So you can dig foundation.
And he puts the nose of the pickup
Plumbing
by the
line.
stop sign at 6th Street, and the tail end of this whole assembly is like 3 lots back. And they pull this rig off and go up on top of the red dirt, and he digs the footings. And he's parked there all day long digging the footings. And then the next day, the layout guy comes and puts the pins and the stakes and the batter boards in, and then the day after that, they tie the steel and they pour the footings with a concrete truck they occupy the space all day long. And then one thing just leads to the next.
When you get the framing delivery.
Now you gotta have concrete blocks next, and then you bring in the fill and the foundation. So you're a couple of weeks, it just.
And I can see
Number.
where if it's one if it's, you know, a one-time job, that it's, you understand that it's gonna have a timeline, but I think that this.
When they're doing multiple houses.
There's nothing.
Well, yeah, the multiple is,
There's
and then.
nothing but the street. That's the only facility that is available to bring the things there.
I do think it's worth a discussion with this. I mean, I think that developers continuing to work on other properties there, and but people
You know-
who are buying these houses know that more houses are coming, and so they're the ones that maybe can influence.
You don't use the big dump truck on the weekends, but you can leave it there.
Yeah,
So just a reminder that we're gonna be needing this space next week.
yes.
Well, some of these projects use their equipment all week long. I mean, Sunday mornings, way before anybody goes to church, before dawn, almost. This time of year, it's getting to be before dawn. Some of them are working within earshot.
7 a.m., they're right down there.
Sunday morning and late in the evening. And the ones that have lights on their sites, some of them have worked way into the night during times.
You hear the backup beepers.
Yeah.
Make your proxy up down.
Well, I do think the development is picking up, and so this is, I think, what a great time for the resurgence of neighborhood associations to really, you know,
It may cause that.
yeah, exert some
It's over
influence.
it, yes, up next. But
It generally does, because when we got something to complain about, there are more of us.
Yes. And I've reviewed a lot of the neighborhood applications over the past few years, and a lot of them were, concerns were development, speeding, safety, getting to know my neighbors. Those were the,
Development related. Mhm.
and, you know.
That's where they show up.
Well, okay, that's a good, solid discussion of that. Thanks, Dee Dee. You sound like you're kind of already meshing in and getting interested in
if you're
this.
serious about doing your homework, we're glad to hear that.
Yes, I love homework.
Next new business would be setting agenda items for the January meeting. And I mentioned this lady, Terry Lane, who might be available to talk to us some about National Wildlife Federation certified lots. And
Sounds good to
you
me,
can do
Rick.
businesses as well, any kind of property that's defined. You can do that. Any other ideas for agenda items?
I was thinking, perhaps coupled with that, if I learned some interesting information about the categories of parks designations, if we could work those two together, that might be
Yeah,
a good.
that'd be great. That's a meeting for it.
Yeah, there were people that asked me about it, and even before I was totally clear of what it was myself, I said, well, one of my, because institutional, it throws in the sentence that it's like, such as churches. One of my neighbors who is a dedicated member of a church down on 15th Street, but he said, well, they're just going to give it to some church or something, you know, because the sign's across the street from his house. And I said, no, that's not what it is. That's just an example of the kind of thing goes into institutional zoning. So I'm not sure he believed me.
Okay.
So it is good. That would be a great thing to clarify.
So is this, what's this designation, this dedicated green space? What's it called? We were discussing the other night in the meeting. There are certain areas of the city that are designated.
The Enduring Green Network.
Enduring Green Network. Have you heard that term?
I have not heard that.
Well, that came up a few years ago.
Yeah, well, there's that, the riparian areas.
Well, the question about the EGN is that the E going to be relevant? Is it going to endure?
Yeah.
It was designated and identified in a kind of broad brushstroke way back some years ago, and it's getting nibbled on. So somehow these parks designations could somehow be related to that. It might be an interesting approach. Announcements then? Are we pretty much
We're done.
chewed everything?
Well, make a plea, please, guys, to get more people to attend when they don't have an issue, just so they can talk about, listen to others, and that's why we're here, is to listen to groups that do come in with a current, real, serious problem that they're angry about, frightened about, and so forth.
Before Stan left, I got his proxy on the question of adjourning, so
Oh, good, we couldn't adjourn. We didn't sincerely keep back.
I went ahead and got his vote on that. Do we have a motion that we adjourn?
Sure.
Any other things to discuss?
Motion, Stan can second it.
Stan, I'll second.
And he seconded it,
Stan.
you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah.
voted in
I heard
favor.
it.
All in favor, then we stand adjourned. And